The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Commander Zix and her officers stood at attention as the human stepped aboard the celestial Voyager. Kate Bishop was shorter than any of the Azurians, her frame more compact and sturdy. She wore a battered spacesuit with strange symbols and patches. She carried a large metal toolkit in one hand and removed her helmet with the other, revealing more of the golden fibers that covered her head. "Wow," Kate said, looking up at the tall, blue-scaled aliens. "You folks are a lot bigger in person. Nice to meet you all." Her casual manner confused the Azurians who were accustomed to formal diplomatic protocols. Commander Zix stepped forward. "I am Commander Zix of the Azurian Science, Vessel Celestial Voyager. We thank you for responding to our distress call." Kate nodded and set down her toolkit. "Happy to help. So what happened to your ship?" Engineer Kayla explained their encounter with the energy field and the resulting damage. To their systems, Kate listened carefully, asking occasional questions that revealed surprising technical knowledge. "Mind if I take a look at your engine room?" she asked when Kayla finished. The Azurians led Kate through the ship. The human showed no fear despite being surrounded by aliens she had never encountered before. She examined their damaged systems with curious eyes, running her fingers along burnt-out components and examining fractured power couplings. "Well," she said, finally wiping her hands on her suit. "Your main power coupling is completely fried and those engine crystals are cracked. But I might be able to help you jury-rig something to get basic systems back online." "Jury-rig," Commander Zix repeated, unfamiliar with the term. Kate grinned. "It means to make a temporary fix using whatever you have available. Not pretty but functional." The concept was foreign to the methodical Azurians who followed strict engineering protocols. But they had no alternatives. "Please proceed," Commander Zix said. What followed amazed the Azurian engineers. Kate worked with incredible speed and creativity. She combined incompatible systems, bypassed safety protocols, and repurposed components in ways that violated every engineering principle. The Azurians held sacred. "This cannot possibly function," Engineer Kayla whispered as Kate connected the environmental control backup to the main power grid. "It defies all established procedures, yet somehow it worked." After 6 hours of non-stop work, the emergency lights brightened and the environmental systems hummed with renewed energy. "Got your life support back to full capacity," Kate announced, wiping sweat from her face. "And your internal communications should be working now. But the engines and long-range communications are another story. I need parts I don't have." "Our gratitude is immeasurable," Commander Zix said. "You have extended our survival window considerably." Kate nodded. "But you're still stuck here." She pulled out a small device and projected a star map into the air. "According to my charts, there's a trading post about 3 days from here. They might have the parts we need. My ship can't take all of you, but I could go get what we need and come back." The Azurians exchanged glances. This human had already done more than they could have hoped, but now she offered to further delay her own journey to help them. "I will accompany you." Commander Zix decided to assist with negotiations. The human's small ship was cramped and cluttered, so different from the ordered efficiency of Azurian vessels. Strange objects hung from the ceiling. Personal items were strapped to walls. Food wrappers and empty containers floated in corners. "Sorry about the mess," Kate said, as she cleared a space for Zix. "I live alone, so things get a bit chaotic." "You travel the stars alone?" Zix asked, surprised. Kate nodded as she initiated the launch sequence. "Yep, just me and my ship, the Rusty Bucket. Been that way for 3 years. Now, is this common for humans?" "Not really," Kate admitted as they undocked from the Celestial Voyager. "Most human ships have crews, but I prefer the freedom of solo work. I can go where I want, take the jobs I choose." As they traveled, Kate explained more about humans. They came from a planet called Earth, a world of diverse environments and countless cultures. They had achieved space travel relatively recently compared to the Azurians, but had expanded rapidly, establishing colonies and trading posts throughout their solar system and beyond. Humans are adaptable, Kate explained. We thrive in different environments, and we're good at figuring things out on the fly. This explains your unusual repair methods. Zix observed. Kate laughed. We call it thinking outside the box. Finding solutions that aren't in the manual. Commander Zix found herself fascinated by this human. The Azurians valued knowledge accumulated over centuries of careful study and observation. They planned meticulously and followed established protocols. Kate represented a completely different approach to problem solving, one based on intuition, creativity, and a willingness to take risks. Your species must have many stories of great discoveries, Zix said, and plenty of spectacular failures. Kate added with a grin. That's how we learn. Usually the hard way. During the journey, Kate shared tales of human exploration, and Zix described the Azurian mission of scientific discovery. Despite their differences, they found common ground in their curiosity about the universe. On the second day, their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. Kate rushed to the controls. Proximity alert. Something's approaching fast. The scanner showed a small vessel moving rapidly toward their position. Pirates, Kate muttered. This region is supposed to be clear. Must be our lucky day. Pirates, Zix repeated with alarm. The Azurians had heard of such criminals who preyed on vulnerable ships. Hang on, Kate said, strapping herself in. This might get rough. She cut the engines, allowing their ship to drift. Then she quickly powered down all systems except life support. Playing dead, she explained in a whisper. Maybe they'll think we're just debris. But the pirate vessel adjusted. Course heading directly for them. No such luck, Kate muttered. Plan B then. She brought the engines back online with a surge of power that thrust Zix back into her seat. Then Kate executed a series of maneuvers that made the commander's stomachs churn. The small ship spun and twisted, changing direction unpredictably. Your vessel is remarkably agile, Zix observed, gripping her seat tightly. Modified the engines myself. Kate replied with pride. Sacrificed some efficiency for maneuverability. Comes in handy in situations like this. The pirate ship was larger and better armed but less maneuverable. Kate used this advantage flying close to an asteroid field where the larger vessel couldn't follow easily. They're still on our tail, she said, checking the scanner. Time for something really stupid. Before Zix could ask what she meant, Kate plunged the ship directly into the asteroid field. This is extremely dangerous, Zix protested, watching massive rocks tumble past them on all sides. Yep, Kate agreed, not taking her eyes off the controls. That's the idea. She navigated through the field with incredible skill, narrowly avoiding collisions that seemed inevitable. Zix held her breath as they slipped between two massive asteroids with barely meters to spare. The pirate vessel attempted to follow, but a glancing blow from a small asteroid damaged their propulsion system. They fell back, watching helplessly as their prey escaped. When they emerged from the asteroid field, Kate was grinning with exhilaration. See, sometimes the crazy option is the best one. Commander Zix realized she was witnessing something unique to humans. This strange combination of recklessness and skill. The willingness to take enormous risks coupled with the ability to succeed against overwhelming odds. Your approach to danger is unlike anything in Azurian philosophy, she said when her hearts had stopped racing. We seek to minimize risk through preparation and caution. Different approaches, same universe. Kate replied with a shrug. Sometimes caution is smart, sometimes you need to roll the dice. As they approached the trading post, Zix saw it was a sprawling structure cobbled together from salvaged ships and stations, a hub of activity for dozens of species. Stay close to me, Kate advised. Some of these folks aren't too friendly to newcomers, but I've done business here before, they know me. Commander Zix was about to discover yet another surprising talent of her human rescuer, Kate Bishop. Might be reckless and unconventional, but in the complex social environment of the trading post, she would prove to be a masterful negotiator, with connections that would save the Azurian crew. Commander Zix stood on the bridge of the Celestial Voyager, her four eyes scanning the vast emptiness of space that surrounded them. The ship had been drifting for 3 cycles now, their engines dead and their supplies running low. The Azurian exploration vessel had been mapping an uncharted region when they encountered a strange energy field. It had fried their systems and left them stranded far from any known trading routes or colonies. "Commander," Lieutenant Mara called, her antennas twitching. "With anxiety, life support is down to 30%. We have maybe 5 more cycles before oxygen levels become critical." Commander Zix nodded, her blue-scaled skin reflecting the dim emergency lights that now provided the only illumination on the bridge and communications, still sending distress signals on all frequencies. Officer Lyra reported, her slender fingers dancing across the console. "But this region has heavy interference. I cannot be certain our calls are reaching anyone." The Celestial Voyager carried a crew of 30 Azurians, all female, as was tradition for their scientific vessels. They were explorers and scientists, not soldiers or engineers. Their ship was designed for peaceful missions of discovery, not survival, in hostile conditions. Engineer Kayla emerged from the maintenance shaft, her uniform stained with coolant fluid. "The primary power coupling is completely melted, Commander. Even if we had replacement parts, I am not certain we could repair it," Zix felt, the weight of command pressing down on her slender shoulders. These women had trusted her to lead them safely through the stars. Now their lives hung in the balance because of her decision to investigate an anomalous reading. "Continue emergency protocols," she ordered, keeping her voice steady despite her fear. "Reduce life support in uninhabited sections. Ration remaining food supplies. Engineer Kayla, focus all repair efforts on the communication array. That is our best hope." The crew moved, with quiet efficiency, their training overcoming their fear. Azurians were a methodical species valuing order and knowledge above all else. They had explored thousands of worlds over centuries, building a vast database of scientific knowledge, but they had always done so cautiously, maintaining contact with their homeworld and never taking unnecessary risks, until now. Commander Science Officer Tella approached hesitantly. "I have been analyzing the energy field that disabled our systems. It appears to be artificial in nature." Zix turned sharply. "Artificial, you suggest this was deliberate?" "I cannot be certain," Tella admitted. "But the pattern indicates design, not natural occurrence. This may be a defense mechanism, or perhaps a trap." The Gi implication sent a chill through Zix's core. If some unknown species had deliberately disabled their ship, they might return to investigate, and the Azurians had no weapons, no means to defend themselves. "Maintain alert status," she ordered, "and prepare. Emergency evacuation protocols for the survival pods if necessary." But she knew the survival pods were a last desperate measure. Each could support only one Azurian for a short time. They had no propulsion systems, and limited beacons using them meant certain death unless rescue came quickly. As the 4th cycle dawned, hope began to fade. The crew grew quieter, conserving energy and oxygen. Many spent time in the meditation chamber, preparing their spirits for the journey beyond the Azurian. Belief in the cosmic consciousness brought some comfort, but fear still lingered in the ship's recycled air. Zix found herself in the observation dome, staring out at the unfamiliar stars. She had memorized the star patterns of hundreds of sectors, but these constellations were unknown to her. It emphasized how far they were from home, how alone they truly were. Lieutenant Mara joined her, silently standing at her side. Her presence was comforting. They had served together for 20 cycles, exploring the wonders of the galaxy. "The crew looks to you for strength, Commander," Mara said softly. "And you have given it to them, but who supports you?" Zix sighed, a very un-Azurian display of emotion. "I have led us to our doom. Mara, I cannot forgive myself for that. You followed protocol. The anomaly required investigation. No commander would have done differently." "Perhaps," Zix conceded, "but that brings little comfort now." A sudden alarm broke the moment Lieutenant Mara's communication device flashed. "With urgent signals, Commander," she gasped. "Sensors are detecting an approaching vessel." Hope and fear surged in equal measure as they rushed back to the bridge. The main screen flickered to life, showing a small craft approaching their position. It was unlike any ship Zix had ever seen. Its design was asymmetrical with visible welding marks and mismatched hull plates. "Origin," she demanded. Officer Lyra shook her head in confusion. "Unknown commander, it matches no design in our database, but it appears to be responding to our distress signal. Scan for weapons." Zix ordered, though she knew their damaged sensors could provide only limited information. "None detected," Science Officer Tella reported. "But the vessel uses an unusual propulsion system I cannot identify. The energy signature is complex." The strange ship drew closer, maneuvering with surprising agility for such an awkward-looking craft. It was small, barely large enough for a single occupant. "They are hailing us," Lyra announced, surprise evident in her voice. "Open communication channels," Zix commanded, straightening her uniform and composing her features. She would represent her people with dignity even in this desperate hour. The screen flickered and resolved to show the interior of the approaching vessel. And there, sitting at the controls, was a creature none of them had ever seen before. Its skin was a pale pink, its head covered with golden fibers. Its features were alien, yet somehow familiar, with two eyes, a prominent nose and a mouth that curved upward. "Hello there," the creature said in a clear feminine voice. "I received your distress call. This is Kate Bishop from Earth. Do you need assistance?" Earth. The word meant nothing to Zix, but the offer of help meant everything. "Yes," she replied, trying to keep the desperate relief from her voice. "We are in dire need of assistance. Our ship is damaged beyond our capacity to repair." The human nodded. "I figured as much when I picked up your signal. Hang tight, I'm coming aboard to take a look." As the small ship docked with their airlock, Commander Zix gathered her senior officers. "We know nothing of this species. Be alert but courteous. Remember, we represent all Azurians. None of them could have predicted how this encounter would change not just their fate, but the future relationship between their species." For Kate Bishop was about to show them something they had never encountered before: the unique human combination of ingenuity, courage, and compassion that would save them all. The trading post loomed before them, a massive structure built from salvaged ship parts and connected habitation modules. Kate expertly navigated her small vessel through the busy docking area, where ships of various designs and origins clustered, like insects around a hive. "Welcome to Crossroads Station," Kate said as they secured docking clamps. "Not the prettiest place in the galaxy, but you can find almost anything here if you know where to look." Commander Zix had never seen such a chaotic collection of species and cultures. Azurians rarely ventured into these frontier regions, preferring the orderly trade routes and established diplomatic channels of known space. She stepped carefully from the airlock, her tall frame drawing curious stares from the station's inhabitants. "Your species is not common here," Kate explained, walking confidently beside her. "Stay close and let me do the talking." The interior of the station was a maze of corridors and open markets. The air was thick with unfamiliar scents and sounds. Merchants called out their wares in dozens of languages. Beings of all descriptions haggled over goods, exchanged currency, and moved through the crowds with purpose. "The parts we need will be in the engineering sector," Kate said, leading Zix through the throng. "But first we need to establish some credit. I know someone who might help." They entered a dimly lit establishment filled with small tables. Several patrons looked up as they entered, their expressions unreadable to Zix but apparently meaningful to Kate. Well, a gravelly voice called from behind a cluttered counter. "If it isn't Kate Bishop, what trouble are you bringing to my door this time?" The speaker was a stocky being with rough gray skin and multiple arms. Each limb seemed engaged in a different task: mixing drinks, counting currency, organizing inventory. "Hey, Grix," Kate greeted cheerfully. "Just passing through. Need some parts for a repair job. Thought you might point me in the right direction." Grix's yellow eyes narrowed. "Last time I helped you, that Arulian trade minister put a bounty on my head, which I helped remove," Kate countered. "Besides, I brought you that rare Centaurian whiskey to make up for it." "True," Grix admitted, then noticed Zix, an Azurian. "This far from the central systems. Now that's interesting." Commander Zix stood straighter. Our vessel encountered difficulties. We seek parts for repair. Diplomatic as always. Grix chuckled. Your kind doesn't usually mix with frontier folk. What happened? Azurian Science Corps finally get curious about the real universe, Kate interjected before Zix could respond. Their ship hit an energy field, got pretty banged up. We need power couplings compatible with Azurian tech and crystalline matrix components. Grix whistled a sound like escaping steam. Expensive items, those crystals, especially high-grade ones, I assume. Only the best for my blue friend here, Kate said with a smile. What followed was a complex negotiation that Zix struggled to follow. Kate offered information services and items from her ship in exchange for credit and introductions to the right merchants. Grix countered with demands and conditions. Their back and forth contained layers of meaning, references to past deals and subtle threats, all delivered with apparent friendliness. Finally, Grix nodded, seeming satisfied. Jana in Section 12 might have those power couplings. Tell her I sent you for the crystals. Try the Vestian trader in. The old cargo bay has quality goods, but watch the certification. Make sure they're genuine. Thanks, Grix. Kate said, I owe you one. You owe me several. The multi-armed being replied. But who's counting? Stay alive, Bishop. This station's been tense. Lately, too many mercenaries passing through. As they left the establishment, Zix asked, You have history with that individual? Kate nodded. Grix has been here for decades, knows everyone and everything that happens on this station. Information broker, trading post bartender, and occasional smuggler, but basically honest by frontier standards. They made their way through crowded corridors to Section 12, where they found Jana, a tall, thin humanoid with silvery skin, who operated a parts shop, crammed with technology from across the galaxy. Kate Bishop, Jana said, without looking up from the component she was repairing. I heard you were docked. Your timing is fortunate. I just received a shipment that included some Azurian-compatible parts. News travels fast, Kate remarked. Information is currency. Jana replied, finally looking up. Her pupilless eyes studied Zix with interest. An actual Azurian. How unexpected. Your people rarely venture beyond your established territories. Circumstances. Required adaptation. Zix replied carefully. Jana laughed, a musical sound. Indeed. The universe has a way of forcing us all beyond our comfortable boundaries. The power couplings were available but expensive. Kate haggled skillfully, finally agreeing to provide maintenance services for Jana's environmental systems as part of the payment. Now for the hard part, Kate said as they left with the couplings securely packed. The crystals. The Vestian trader operated from an abandoned cargo bay. The space was filled with display cases containing glittering objects from across the galaxy. The trader herself was a small being, with translucent skin, through which complex patterns of light pulsed and shifted. Beautiful, aren't they? The trader said, noting Zix's fascination with the display. Each crystal a perfect lattice structure grown in the heart of dying stars, harvested at great risk. We require crystalline matrix components compatible with Azurian technology, Zix stated. The trader's inner lights dimmed slightly. Such items are rare. Expensive. Few ships use such advanced technology. Most make do with synthetic alternatives. We need the real thing, Kate insisted. High quality, properly certified. I have what you seek, the trader admitted. But the price is quite dear. Kate leaned forward. Name it. Information. The trader said, her lights pulsing rapidly. About the energy field that damaged your ship. Zix stiffened. How did the trader know about that? Kate's expression remained neutral. What makes you think an energy field was involved? The trader's lights formed complex patterns. I hear things. Unusual phenomena interest me greatly. Such an energy field, if it exists, would be valuable knowledge. Commander Zix considered. Carefully, the Azurians had strict protocols about sharing scientific data, especially with unknown entities, but their situation was desperate. I can provide coordinates and our sensor readings, she offered, but nothing more without authorization. From my government. The trader seemed to consider this, her lights shifting through various patterns. Acceptable, but I require one more thing. She turned to Kate. The resonance coil from your ship's navigation system. Kate frowned. That's a custom. Part hard to replace. Yet not impossible, the trader countered. Unlike these crystals, which you will find nowhere else on this station. After further negotiation, they reached an agreement. Zix would provide the data on the energy field. Kate would surrender her resonance coil and the trader would provide the crystals. A pleasure doing business, the trader said as the exchange was completed. Do visit again, Commander Zix. Your people's scientific knowledge is most valuable. Perhaps in the future, we might arrange more formal trade. As they left with the precious crystals, Kate sighed. Going to be tricky flying without that coil. But I can manage. We'll need to make one more stop for supplies before heading back. They were passing through a particularly crowded section when Kate suddenly grabbed Zix's arm, pulling her into a narrow side passage. What? Zix began, but Kate pressed a finger to her lips. Trouble, she whispered. Those three by the food stall, the ones in gray uniforms, they're harvester mercenaries. Bad news. Zix peered carefully around the corner. The beings Kate indicated were humanoid with cybernetic enhancements visible on their faces and hands. They moved with predatory grace, scanning the crowd. They work for various clients. Kate explained, keeping her voice low. Retrieve valuable technology or specimens. Sometimes living ones. They might be looking for us. Your ship's energy field encounter could have attracted attention. How do we proceed? Zix asked, feeling exposed. Back route. Kate decided, through the maintenance sections less crowded. They slipped through a service door into the station's infrastructure, a maze of pipes, conduits, and support structures. The air was warmer here and smelled of machinery. They had almost reached the docking area when a voice called out, Hold there! A harvester stepped from the shadows, blocking their path. His cybernetic eye glowed as it scanned them. Kate Bishop, he said, and an Azurian commander. How interesting. Our employer would like to speak with you about certain anomalies you encountered. Kate shifted slightly, positioning herself between Zix and the mercenary. Not interested in any conversations right now. Maybe next time. This isn't a request. The harvester's hand moved toward a weapon at his belt. What happened next occurred so quickly Zix could barely follow. Kate lunged forward, striking the mercenary's arm before he could draw his weapon. Then she drove her elbow into his throat. A small device in her hand pressed against his cybernetic implants discharged an electrical pulse. The harvester collapsed, twitching. Run, Kate ordered, grabbing the supply case with the crystals. They sprinted through the maintenance corridors, Kate leading the way through the labyrinth with surprising familiarity. Alarms sounded behind them. Almost there. Kate panted as they approached the docking area. My ship is in Bay 17. They rounded a corner and froze. Two more harvesters stood between them and the docking bay, their weapons already drawn. Surrender, one called. Our employer merely wishes information. The journey back to the Celestial Voyager took longer without the resonance coil. Kate had to navigate manually, compensating for drift with frequent adjustments. The strain showed on her face as she focused on the controls, rarely taking breaks. Even to eat, you should rest, Commander Zix suggested during the second day. Your efficiency will decrease without adequate recovery. Kate smiled tiredly. Nice way of saying I look terrible. I'll rest when we reach your ship. The harvesters might still be tracking us. Need to stay alert. These harvesters? Zix said. You believe they sought information about the energy field we encountered? Kate nodded, adjusting their course again. That kind of anomaly attracts attention, especially from those who collect exotic technology. Someone paid them to find you. I'd bet my ship on it. But who would have such interest, and how did they know of our encounter? Good questions, Kate replied. The trading post is a hub for information. The energy field might have been monitored by someone. Unusual phenomena get noticed out here on the frontier. This troubled Zix deeply. The Azurians valued their privacy and independence. The idea that unknown entities monitored their movements and took interest in their discoveries was disturbing. In Azurian space, such surveillance would violate numerous treaties. Kate laughed. though there was little humor in it. Out here there are no treaties, Commander, just interests and power. The strong take what they want, the clever hide what they have, and everyone watches everyone else. The universe is full of valuable secrets. They traveled in silence for some time, Zix contemplating this harsh reality so different from the ordered diplomatic channels of Azurian space. Finally, she asked a question that had been troubling her. Why did you help us? You risked much, gained little. Kate considered before answering. Honestly, when I picked up your distress signal, I didn't think twice about it. Someone needed help. I could provide it, simple as that. But you surrendered valuable components, engaged in combat, risked pursuit. Even now you endanger yourself to return us to safety. That's what humans do, Kate said with a shrug. Or what we should do anyway. Not all of us live up to it, but helping others, even strangers, that's part of being human at our best. Your species is puzzling, Zix admitted. You seem both intensely individualistic, yet willing to sacrifice for others. Yeah, we contain multitudes. Kate grinned. My grandmother used to say humanity's greatest strength is that we're walking contradictions, selfish and selfless, peaceful and violent, logical and emotional. All at once makes us unpredictable, sometimes even to ourselves. Before Zix could respond, an alarm sounded. Kate quickly checked the scanner. Multiple ships approaching fast. She reported, her expression grim. Harvester signatures. They followed us, Zix said with alarm. Looks that way. Kate's hands moved across the controls, adjusting power and trajectory. They must have placed a tracker on the hull during the confusion at the station. Can we outrun them? Kate shook her head. Not without the resonance coil we're running at reduced efficiency, and there are 4 of them probably planning to surround us. She thought for a moment, then nodded to herself. There's a nebula not far from here. Lots of interference could hide there, maybe lose them. And if we cannot? Kate gave her a serious look. Then I'll have to get creative, hold tight, this might get rough. She altered their course sharply, heading toward a colorful cloud of gas and dust visible in the distance. The pursuing ships adjusted quickly, maintaining their intercept course. They're gaining. Zix reported, watching the scanner. Estimated intercept in 7 minutes. Too soon, Kate muttered. We won't reach the nebula in time. Need a diversion. She looked around the cockpit, then smiled. Commander, how are your piloting skills? Basic training. Only I am not a navigator. Today you get a crash course. Kate quickly explained the control system. Keep us on this heading, maximum speed, I'll be right back. Before Zix could protest, Kate unbuckled and pushed herself toward the rear of the ship, leaving the Azurian commander at the controls. Zix gripped the steering mechanism, her 4 eyes fixed on the course indicator. As an Azurian commander, she had received basic flight training, but had never piloted a vessel during an emergency. Minutes later, Kate returned, carrying what looked like a modified communications buoy. What is that device? Zix asked, not taking her eyes from the controls. Emergency beacon, Kate explained, working quickly to modify it. But I've rewired it to broadcast. A false signature should mimic our engine output briefly. She glanced at the scanner. They're closing fast, any moment now they'll be in weapons range. She finished her modifications and moved to a small airlock designed for equipment deployment. When I say now, cut engines completely, Kate instructed. Then after 10 seconds, reactivate and change course toward these coordinates. She entered numbers into the navigation system. Full power, understood. Zix nodded, though uncertainty filled her. What? Are you attempting? A magic trick? Kate grinned, making us disappear. Now Zix cut the engines. The ship went dark and silent, drifting on its previous trajectory. Kate launched the modified beacon from the equipment airlock. The small device accelerated, away, broadcasting the false signature. 5 seconds. Kate counted, returning to the cockpit. 7, 8, 9. Now Zix reactivated the engines and turned sharply on the new heading. The ship responded sluggishly at first, then picked up speed on the scanner. They watched as the pursuing vessels followed the beacon, which was moving rapidly away from them. It worked, Zix said with surprise. For now, Kate cautioned, they'll realize it's a decoy soon, but it buys us time to reach the nebula. They reached the edge of the nebula. 20 minutes later, the colorful gases enveloped their ship, reducing visibility to near zero. Sensor functionality decreased significantly as well. Perfect, Kate said with satisfaction. Now we play hide and seek. Stay quiet. Minimize power output and let them search blindly. For hours they drifted within the nebula systems powered down to minimum, Kate occasionally adjusting their position to stay hidden within the densest clouds. The harvester ships prowled, the perimeter occasionally venturing inside to search, but the interference prevented them from locating their prey. Why such persistence? Zix wondered, watching the distant engine signatures of the hunters. What value could our encounter with the sea? Energy field possibly hold. That's what worries me, Kate admitted. This level of effort means whatever you found is extremely valuable to someone, and that someone has significant resources. Eventually, the harvester ships departed, apparently giving up the search. Kate waited several more hours before cautiously navigating out of the nebula on a different vector than they had entered. Not taking any chances, she explained. We'll approach the celestial Voyager from an unexpected direction. The Azurian vessel came into view a day later, still drifting where they had left it. Kate hailed them using a secure channel. Lieutenant Mara responded, her voice filled with relief. Commander, we feared you had encountered difficulties. We experienced some complications, Zix replied with significant understatement. But we have acquired the necessary components. Prepare for docking. The reunion on the celestial Voyager was emotional by Azurian standards, which meant controlled expressions of relief and formal statements of gratitude. The crew gathered to hear Commander Zix's report and to meet the human who had twice saved them. Kate Bishop has secured the components needed for our repairs, Zix announced. At significant personal cost, engineer. Kayla examined the power couplings and crystals with appreciation. These are exceptional quality, but installation and recalibration will be complex. I can help with that, Kate offered, though I'll need to learn more about your systems. The Azurian. Engineers were hesitant at first, Kate's unorthodox methods having shocked them during her first repair effort. But desperation overcame tradition. They worked alongside the human, absorbing her creative approaches and integrating them with their own technical knowledge. Over the next 3 days they rebuilt the damaged systems, Kate working tirelessly, showing the Azurians improvisational techniques they had never considered. The crystals were carefully installed, their lattice structures aligned precisely to channel energy. Your knowledge of crystalline technology is impressive, Science Officer Tella commented as they calibrated the matrix. Where did you acquire such expertise? Picked it up here and there, Kate said, making a final adjustment. Worked on a Calirian mining ship for a while. They used similar systems, had to learn fast or get fired. On the 4th day they were ready to test the repairs. Kate stood on the bridge with Commander Zix and the senior officers as engineer. Kayla initiated the startup sequence. The ship hummed as power flowed through the new components. Lights brightened. Systems came online one by one. Primary power at 60% and rising. Kayla reported, crystalline matrix, stable energy flow consistent. Life. Support fully functional. Lieutenant Mara added, environmental systems optimal. Communications array online. Officer Lyra announced, we are broadcasting identification and status. Commander Zix felt relief wash through her. The celestial Voyager was healing, returning to life. Her crew would survive. Their mission could continue. Navigation systems coming online, the pilot reported. We can plot a course home. Engine power at 85%, Kala said with satisfaction. Sufficient for sustained travel. The Azurian crew permitted themselves subtle expressions of joy. Their ordeal was ending. The celestial Voyager would fly again. The bridge of the celestial Voyager hummed with tension. 4 minutes remained before the Nexus Dominion ships would attempt boarding. Commander Zix gathered her senior officers and Kate in the strategy room adjacent to the bridge. Options, she demanded. We cannot outrun those vessels, Lieutenant Mara stated. Even at full power, they would overtake us quickly. Our shields will not withstand their weapons. Engineer Kayla added, we have minimal defensive capabilities. We could surrender, Communications Officer Lyra suggested hesitantly. Perhaps negotiate terms, Kate shook her head emphatically. The Nexus Dominion doesn't negotiate. They take what they want by force. The crew would be imprisoned or worse. Your scientific data extracted. Your ship dismantled for study. What about the energy field that disabled us initially? Science Officer Tella asked. Could we lure them into it? Too risky. Zix replied. We barely survived the encounter, and we have insufficient data on its properties. Kate paced the room, her mind racing. We need something unexpected, something they won't anticipate. She stopped suddenly. Your research. What exactly were you studying in this region? Commander Zix hesitated. Azurian protocols restricted sharing scientific data, especially with non-Azurians, but conventional thinking had not saved them thus far. We were mapping quantum fluctuations in this sector, she explained. Unusual subspace distortions that could potentially be used for advanced propulsion systems. Kate's eyes widened. That's why the Dominion wants your ship. They're obsessed with propulsion technology. She turned to Science Officer Tella. The sensors you use to detect these fluctuations, could they be modified to generate a similar effect? Tella considered this. Theoretically, yes. By reversing the polarity of the detection array, we could create a localized distortion, but it would require enormous power, and the effect would be unpredictable. We don't need predictable, Kate argued. We need chaos. Something to confuse their sensors long enough for your ship to escape. Such a modification would drain our power reserves. Engineer Kayla warned, we might escape the Dominion only to be stranded again. 2 minutes remaining, Lieutenant. Mara reported Commander Zix made her decision. Proceed with the modifications. We will not surrender to the Dominion. The team moved with practiced efficiency. Tella and Kayla rushed to modify the sensor array. Kate followed, offering suggestions based on her practical experience with similar systems. In the meantime, Zix returned to the bridge to stall for time. Open a channel to the Dominion vessels, she ordered. The lead ship's commander appeared on screen. Your time is almost expired, Azurian. Have you prepared for boarding? We request additional time, Zix replied, keeping her voice steady. Our systems were recently damaged. We need to stabilize them before powering down. Failure to do so could result in a catastrophic overload, destroying valuable data. The cybernetic face showed no emotion. You have 3 additional minutes, no more. The transmission ended in the sensor control room. Kate and the Azurian scientists worked frantically to reconfigure the equipment. If we channel power from the auxiliary systems through the main deflector, Kate suggested, we could amplify the effect. That would overload the safety protocols. Kayla objected. Exactly. Kate grinned. Sometimes you need to break things to fix things. Tella made the final adjustments. The modifications are complete, but Commander, this is highly experimental. The quantum distortion could affect our ship as well. We have no alternatives, Zix replied through the communication system. Prepare to activate on my command. The 3 Dominion vessels moved into position surrounding the Celestial Voyager, their weapon systems powered up. Smaller craft deployed from their hangars, boarding parties preparing to capture the Azurian ship. They're launching boarding shuttles, Lieutenant Mara reported. 30 seconds until they reach our airlocks. Divert all available power to the modified sensor array. Zix ordered, prepare for emergency acceleration. Kate rushed onto the bridge. The array is ready, but there's one problem. We need someone to manually calibrate the field harmonics during activation. The automated systems can't handle the fluctuations. Who has the expertise for such a task? Zix asked. Kate met her gaze steadily. I do, but I'll need to use my ship. The controls have to be synchronized from outside your vessel. Zix understood immediately what this meant. Kate would be placing herself in terrible danger separated from the celestial Voyager during their escape attempt. "That is unacceptable," she said. "The risk is too great." "No time to argue," Kate insisted. "It's the only way. My ship is small maneuverable. I can evade them after you're gone." The boarding shuttles were seconds away from docking. Zix had no choice. "Proceed," she ordered. "But we will establish a rendezvous point." Kate nodded. "The Veil Nebula system coordinates already programmed into your navigation computer. If I'm not there in 3 days, keep going." She turned to leave, but Zix caught her arm. "Kate Bishop, you have shown us the true meaning of courage. We will not abandon you." The human smiled. "Just doing what needs doing, Commander. See you at the rendezvous." Kate sprinted to her ship, detaching from the celestial Voyager just as the first Dominion shuttles reached the airlocks. The small vessel darted away, drawing immediate fire from the larger ships. Dominion vessels are focusing weapons on Kate's ship. Mara reported, "She is creating a diversion." Zix realized, "Activate the modified array now." Engineer Kayla engaged the system. The celestial Voyager shuddered as power surged through the reconfigured sensors. A wave of quantum distortion erupted from the ship, expanding rapidly in all directions. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Space itself seemed to ripple and fold. Sensor readings became chaotic. The Dominion vessels faltered their targeting systems, confused by the quantum interference. Their boarding shuttles tumbled out of control, some colliding with each other. Maximum acceleration. Zix ordered, "Take us out of the distortion field." The celestial Voyager leapt forward, engines straining as they pushed through the quantum turbulence. Behind them, the Dominion ships struggled to reorient themselves, caught in the artificial subspace. "Anomaly. We are clear of the distortion field," the pilot announced, continuing acceleration. "Status of Kate's vessel." Zix demanded. Lieutenant Mara studied the long-range sensors. "Difficult to determine. The quantum interference is affecting our sensors, but I detect a small ship moving away from the Dominion vessels. It appears to be intact." "Set course for the rendezvous coordinates," Zix ordered. "Maximum sustainable speed." As the celestial Voyager raced away from danger, Commander Zix gazed at the view screen. The distortion field was dissipating but had served its purpose. The Dominion ships were falling behind, unable to pursue immediately. "The humans' plan succeeded," Science Officer Tella observed. "Most impressive adaptation of our technology. Kate Bishop has shown resourcefulness beyond any protocol or procedure in our database," Zix agreed. "Her methods may be unconventional, but they are undeniably effective." The Azurian vessel traveled for 3 days, pushing its newly repaired systems to their limits. The crew worked continuously, monitoring for pursuit and ensuring their ship remained operational. Finally, they reached the rendezvous coordinates, a beautiful nebula with swirling colors and dense gas clouds that would help mask their presence. "No sign of Kate's vessel," Lieutenant Mara reported after a thorough scan. Commander Zix felt a heaviness in her hearts. Kate Bishop had saved them multiple times, sacrificing her own safety for theirs. The possibility that the human had not survived their escape weighed heavily upon her. "We will wait," she decided, as agreed. Hours passed. The Azurian crew maintained their vigilance. Some began to lose hope, suggesting they should continue their journey home. But Zix refused. "Kate Bishop would not abandon us," she stated. "We shall not abandon her." On the second day at the rendezvous point, Officer Lyra detected a faint signal. "Commander, I am receiving a transmission. Weak but consistent. Source: uncertain. The nebula is interfering with precise location, but the signature matches Kate's vessel. Can you establish communication?" Lyra worked at her console, attempting to boost the signal. The view screen flickered, then resolved to show Kate's face. She appeared tired, with a bruise on her forehead, but very much alive. "Hey there," she greeted with a weary smile. "Sorry I'm late. Had to take the scenic route. Dominion ships were pretty determined to find me." Relief filled the bridge. The Azurian crew permitted themselves small expressions of joy We feared you had been captured, Commander Zix said. Almost was. Kate admitted. They damaged my engines, had to make some creative repairs. Limping along at quarter power now, need a little help with the final approach. We will dispatch a shuttle immediately, Zix declared. Hours later, Kate stood on the bridge of the Celestial Voyager receiving the formal gratitude of the entire crew. Her small ship had been brought aboard, too damaged to fly independently but salvageable. The Azurian. Science Council has authorized me to extend an unprecedented offer, Commander Zix announced. We would be honored if you would accompany us to Azuria Prime. Your knowledge and skills would be invaluable to our research efforts, and your ship will be fully repaired with our most advanced technology. Kate looked surprised. That's incredibly generous, but I'm not much for formal scientific procedures or rigid protocols. Not sure I'd fit in with your people.